So there's a common misconception that you need thousands and tens of thousands of dollars to buy a house. And I know this is a huge hurdle for some people, especially being a first-time home buyer. It's really hard to come up with those initial funds to buy a house. I've worked with many first-time home buyers. I've been a first-time home buyer myself, and I didn't have a big pot of money either. So if you are in that situation, you're not gonna wanna miss this video because we are myth busting that down payment requirement. I'm gonna tell you how to get close to $0 out of pocket with some of these tips and tricks. Some of them you can even combine together. So don't miss out. I personally used the number one on this list. So but before we get started, welcome back. My name is Somer Szostak. I'm your go-to real estate agent here in the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Greater Triangle area. So if you have any questions as we're going through this video, I'm sure you will. So I'll put my contact details on the screen in the description box below. Feel free to reach out to me like many others do. I would love to chat with you about your options, about what is available to you here in the Triangle area. And some of these tips and tricks do have restrictions, so I can connect you with a local lender to kind of have that initial chat together and see if you qualify for any of these that I'm gonna share with you. So without further ado, let's hop right in. So number one, there is a type of loan here in North Carolina and across the country that is called a USDA loan. So this is a loan available to you if you are buying in a more rural community. So this doesn't mean you have to buy in the middle of nowhere grasslands, but it is usually outside of city limits. There is a map that I will link in the description that shows you where this can be applied. So personally, I recently, in the last 2 years, moved out to Mebane, North Carolina, a little bit north of Mebane. We wanted to be a little bit more rural, so we took advantage of this loan and we got a 0% down payment, which was amazing, and we only had to pay closing costs. But there are income restrictions on this type of loan, and it is based on county and location. So for example, if you're in the Chapel Hill, Durham area, your income is capped at about $80,900 per year to be able to qualify for this loan. If you're in Raleigh, it goes up to $90,000. And some of the more rural counties, it's as low as $50,000 that kind of caps your income to be able to qualify for this loan. So this is definitely great if you're a first-time home buyer or you have lower income to be able to qualify for a 0% down payment. Again, contact me. My details are in the description box below. I'd be happy to connect you directly with the local lender that I personally use to get this type of loan. Number two, and this is a strategy I've used with some of my first-time home buyers when making an offer on a house, you can ask for seller credits. So this means you can ask the seller to pay towards your closing costs. Right now, I have a first-time home buyer I'm currently helping buy his townhouse in South Durham, and he didn't qualify for the USDA loan because it's not in a rural area, but he was able to get $5,000 from the seller to pay for his closing costs. And he's combining that with the number 3 option that we'll talk about in a second. And he actually only has $73 out of pocket, which kind of blows my mind. And I've seen this happen before and it still blows my mind. But $73 out of pocket and he's getting a townhouse. And of course, this doesn't just apply to townhouses. You can use this strategy anywhere, especially if the house has been on the market for more than 30 days. So right now is the perfect market to use this strategy because homes are sitting a little bit longer. When it was a few years ago when people were competing against each other and making offers, no one was getting any kind of seller credits. All right, number 3, and this is what I mentioned before, that I have a first-time home buyer combining number 2 and number 3. Number 3 is there's something called the the North Carolina Home Advantage Mortgage. So this is a program that provides eligible home buyers with, one is competitive interest rates, and two, 3% of purchase price towards the down payment assistance. So basically this is up to $15,000 towards down payment assistance. So this was about a $300,000 townhouse, and he got qualified for a 3% down conventional loan. We used this down payment assistance from the North Carolina Home Advantage Mortgage Program, and we did use the full $15,000 that was allowed, plus we had the $5,000 of seller credit towards closing costs. So altogether, that came out to $73 out of pocket, which is amazing. And this program is a huge opportunity, especially if you don't want to buy a more rural community, or you can combine this with USDA loan. So you could get a 0 down payment loan and just use this credit, $3,000 of it, to cover closing costs, something like that. So again, there are limitations on this. There are limitations on this North Carolina Home Advantage Mortgage Program. So if you are making more than, and I have them written down, so forgive me for reading off my screen, but so your income cannot exceed more than $134,000. You do have to occupy the house within 60 days of closing. So this is not going to work for any kind of investment property. Your credit score also has to be higher than 640, and you have to be a legal resident of the US. So those are the major limitations of this program. Again, I can connect you with a local lender to kind of go into this in more detail with you and see if you qualify for this type of program. Number 4, I preach this all the time and I feel like it's always overlooked, but new construction buyer incentives can be so helpful, especially if you are a first-time home buyer, you don't have a lot saved. New construction, I think, is the way to go anyway. You're not gonna have anything to fix. Like personally, when I bought my first house, we bought this, I love the house, but it's 20 years old. And we did have to get a credit card to fix the water filter and to replace the kitchen floors and stuff like that. In a new construction home, not only are they offering buyer incentives, but you get that warranty, the builder's warranties. You're not gonna have to worry about anything breaking and stuff like that. So, and some of these buyer incentives will significantly reduce your cost of buying the house and keeping the house. So for example, and again, I have some of these written down, so forgive me for looking at my screen, but I wanted to get them right. D.R. Horton is offering to buy down your interest rate into the mid 5s. So I've seen 5.25 and 5.5 from D.R. Horton, depending on your loan type. Meritage is offering to buy down your loan to 4.75, which always depends on your credit, or $30,000 towards financing costs. So this could get you to $0 down easily with the $30,000 incentive. So if you don't mind having a higher interest rate, you can always refinance later, but you could use that $30,000 instead of the rate buy down to pay for your down payment and closing costs. They'll get you to $0 out of pocket. Pulte Homes is also offering to buy down your interest rate into the mid 5s. It's about 550, 575. Davidson Homes is also offering up to $10,000 in closing costs. So this can also drastically reduce what you have to pay at closing. And again, with these bigger builders and their buyer incentives, you usually have to go through their lending company, like their preferred lender, and their lending companies will do the USDA loan, they will do VA loans, they do FHA and conventional loans. So lots of options there. Number 5, when you are actually closing on your house, you have to pay prorated mortgage, prorated property taxes, prorated insurance, basically from the day you close until the end of the month. So if you're closing, let's say May 2nd, you're gonna have to pay almost a full month of all of that out of pocket, which can make closing costs much more expensive. So for my buyers who don't have a large sum of money to put up front, I will have them close late in the month. Like on my house, personally, I closed the last day of the month, so I only had to pay 1 day of all of that prorated stuff. This buyer that's paying $73 out of pocket, they are closing on the 27th of one of the months, so he only has to pay 3 or 4 days of all of this prorated cost. So that's also a little trick to do when you are thinking about timeline and buying, is to close at the end of the month. It can make the difference of several hundred to several thousands dollars that you have to pay up front. So those are my 5 quick tips and tricks that you can use to get your down payment and closing costs down if you don't have a big chunk of money up front. And again, if any of these are of interest to you, if you're starting to look at buying your first home or relocating, whether it's across the country or across town, give me a call. I'll put my contact details on the screen in this description box below. I'd be happy to walk you through this more personally and to see what is available to you and to connect you to a local lender to see what you do and don't qualify for and help you strategize so we can get you into your dream home. Again, my name is Somer Szostak. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I have so many other videos on my channel about the different towns around the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area and new construction home tours. So be sure to check those out. If you have any more questions, leave the comment down below, or better yet, text me for a much faster answer. And I'll see you guys in the next video.